Hey guys, welcome back to Dirt Obsession. Pretty excited about this one today as Flying Brian has just picked up a brand new 2022 Yamaha Grizzly 700 in the XTR edition. We can't wait to get out and check this thing out and show you guys why this is the #1 recommendation we have made for a trail riding 4x4 machine since the inception of Dirt Obsession. There's plenty of reviews available on Yamaha's Grizzly, so we're going to approach this one a little bit different. We'll start with what makes the Grizzly great, everything we like about it, and the reasons why we've recommended it so many times. But we'll also put that in perspective compared to what else is available on the market, and then get into the areas where we think Yamaha could improve. The first thing we'll address is the power. Many folks who have considered Yamaha's Grizzly and ultimately decided on another machine have done so for the sake of ultra-bore power. The Grizzly's 686cc single-cylinder engine makes horsepower somewhere in the mid to upper 40s, which is a little over half the power of the twin-cylinder engines from Polaris and Can-Am's biggest offerings. This may be an unpopular opinion, but trail riding ATVs don't need 90 horsepower to push them into spirited trail riding speeds. The Grizzly's power is a little underwhelming when compared to an 850 or 1000cc off the bottom end. But its best power is made in the mid-range, which is where the majority of riding happens. If you're looking for a machine capable of 75 to 80 miles an hour on a road, an ATV might not be the machine you're looking for. Even when they're capable of getting there, they don't handle well, and that kind of top end is something you'll never get to utilize on an actual trail. At least safely.
He was
Moving!
He was wide open.
The advantages of a big single-cylinder engine like the one found in the Grizzly or its closest competitor in the King Quad 750 is that they make great usable power for almost all applications. The other advantage is that they allow for a comparably narrow midsection while still maintaining a side-mounted CVT and well-balanced chassis that both contribute to better handling and better weight, feel, and balance. On the fastest sections of the trails we like to ride, the Grizzly was quite capable of moving us up to and beyond our comfort zone. In our opinion, the advantages of a big single far outweigh the lack of hard bottom pop or the essentially useless top end of the 1000cc quads. It's the sweet spot for a utility ATV. The Grizzly's handling is phenomenal, and while part of that has to do with the slim chassis and weight enabled by the use of a single-cylinder engine, it can also be attributed to perfect power steering. The Grizzly's power steering is speed sensitive, so it offers more assistance at slower speed and less assistance as the speeds increase, and I still believe Yamaha has absolutely nailed it. Other machines on the market offer multi-select power steering, and while some of them are good, they aren't all created equal. For example, we've always felt like the power steering on the big Sportsman XP 1000s offered too much assistance. It's nice that you can select less now depending on what you're doing with the multi-select power steering, but the Grizzly's has always been spot on, without having to think about it. And trail speeds often change, so having to change the power steering modes depending on what you're doing isn't always ideal. In short, if you make it right the first time, you don't have to bother with making it selectable. Engine braking is another thing we like about the Grizzly. It scrubs off speed perfectly when you decelerate. Can-Am recently added adjustable engine braking to their ATVs, and in our opinion, the Outlanders used to have far too much engine braking. We haven't had a chance to see how the selectable engine braking feels yet, but again, this is an area where if you do it right the first time, you don't have to make it selectable. The Grizzly's suspension is very plush, probably too soft for aggressive riding out of the box, but a click or two of preload will put you right where you want it. For normal trail riding, the suspension is perfect, and it really contributes to the ride quality. The ride quality here is far better than even some of the other Japanese offerings, like Honda's Rubicon and the Kawasaki Brute Force 750. True selectable four-wheel drive with the option of a fully locked differential will always be the best four-wheel drive option, and we really like Yamaha's system with the button selection for four-wheel drive and diff lock. It definitely beats the diff lock lever on the Brute Force and the all-wheel drive of the Sportsman's. There's some other smaller details that we've noticed about the Grizzly that are just better than some of the other options. The rear brake lever, for example, is lower and more accessible than a lot of other utility ATVs, and we really like having independent brake levers, even though our sport quad habit tends to have us mistaking the front brakes for the clutch occasionally. The transmission on the Grizzly feels much better than most other utility options. It shifts buttery smooth every time, no matter how you park it. Owners of the big Outlanders and Sportsmans who have done battle with their shift levers will know that this isn't something to be taken for granted. So, even though we've recommended the Grizzly over and over again, we're also going to point out some of the things that we don't like about the machine. And if I were to recommend this, as I have many times, I'm usually recommending the base model. And the reason for that is the 27-inch Maxxis Zilla tires that come on both the SD model and the XTR. The first thing we take issue with from Yamaha on the Grizzly is gotta be the price. There's no doubt about it that this is a premium ATV, and prices are skyrocketing across the board. But at the $12,399 for an XTR Grizzly in 2023, and $11,399 for the base model EPS Grizzly, the prices seem to be getting out of hand. That's why we grabbed a 2022 model while we could, and we definitely recommend you doing the same if you can find one. The next thing we don't like is the tire selection on the SE and the XTR. 27-inch Maxxis Zilla tires are a great option as a light mud tire, and in that regard, they are the perfect choice of mud tire for the Grizzly. But we'd rather have a 26-inch moderate trail tire for our purposes. We'd really like to see either the SE model or the XTR come with an upgraded tire over the bias ply tire on the base model that wasn't quite as mud specific as the Zilla. The Zillas in the 10-inch square setup actually detract a little from all of the things that we like about the Grizzly. We're assuming there's a little bit of gear reduction to help spin the larger tires, and we'd definitely like to have that back. But we also found that the wider front tires push the front end more and take away from the Grizzly's handling compared to a conventional setup. There's also a couple things with the fit and finish we didn't like. There's a small gap where the headlight pod cover meets the display face, and the headlight casings wiggle more than we would expect them to. Obviously, we're being a little nitpicky here, but we've come to expect more from Yamaha, and this is their most premium ATV offering. We also think Yamaha could offer a few more items as standard on the XTR edition. They have raised metal foot pegs available for $60 that we think should be included, and a better skid plate on an extreme terrain machine would definitely be a welcomed addition. All things considered, we still love the Grizzly, and we still consider it to be the best utility ATV for trail riding. But we can't wait to get our hands on a King Quad 750 for a true head-to-head comparison. So what do you want to know about the Grizzly? Hit us up in the comments because we love hearing from you and we do our best to respond to every comment. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. We'll see you next time right here on Dirt Obsession.